this is Kelly. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to share with you how our family makes bread. And I believe this is the way that God intended for all of us to eat bread. Right here in my measuring cup, I have 3 cups of wheat kernels. I like to use 1.5 cups of spelt and 1.5 cups of hard red wheat. And this is the wheat kernel. Let me tell you about this wheat kernel that God created. Within this kernel is stored 25 to 30 vital nutrients that we need every single day. And what's so amazing about this is that these kernels can last for up to 20 years. These kernels are the exact same grain that Joseph used when there was a famine back in the Bible for the Israelites, so that he was able to save the Israelites through this exact type of grain. I find that fascinating. One of the reasons that got me hooked was when I learned what is in the wheat kernel and how it's used by our bodies. So within each of these kernels, like I already said, are all of the nutrients that we need, 25 to 30 nutrients. But what's also included, and the most important one, is vitamin E. What vitamin E does is it's used by every single cell in our body, and it protects our cells and the nutrients within our body from oxygen and from being destroyed by oxygen. Another thing that I find fascinating about milling your own wheat is that once you mill these kernels, within 72 hours, 90% of all the nutrients and vitamins are lost due to oxidation. So that is one of the reasons God tells us, give us this day our daily bread. I don't know if any of you like history, but I love a little bit of history. So the backstory to this is back in the 1920s, millers discovered a new technology which would allow them to separate out the wheat kernel. And they took out the germ, the bran oil, and what was left was pure white flour, which could be stored indefinitely. Unlike this, which only lasts for about 72 hours after it's milled. So that alone just shows you that how we process bread today, it is unhealthy and it is not the way that God intended for us to eat bread. So first let me show you, I discovered a place called Breadbeckers. A couple friends from church a few years ago told me about this place. It's here locally in Georgia, but they have an online store, and I'll put that link in the description below, breadbeckers.com. Anyway, this store has all of the equipment used here today that you can purchase online, and it has all the recipes on how to do everything. So let's get started. Okay, so first we need to get our water running, and you want hot tap water to where it's almost too hard to touch. We're gonna let that run, get hot. Secondly, we're gonna use our Wonder Mill. This is part of the equipment that you can purchase on breadbeckers.com or on Amazon. This is called the Wonder Mill. You can never pour grain in it though without it being turned on first. So we're gonna go ahead and turn it on. And now I can pour the grain. I always put the lid back on because some of the kernels fly out. Okay, while that is milling, we're going to take our half-cup measuring cup right here, test our water. That's hot. It needs to be hot enough that the yeast will activate. Okay, so we do 3 of these, which is 1.5 cups. 2. Next, we're going to I use Greek olive oil. This is a big container. You can use any olive oil you like. 1/3 cup. Our milling is done. Next, we're going to use 1/3 cup of honey. Oops. A little extra. It'll be a little bit sweeter. My kids will like that. All right. Next, we're gonna use salt. I love real salt, but you can use any salt. 2 teaspoons. I always just pour it into my hand like this, and I grab my measuring spoon just like this. So 1, 2, that was exact. Perfect. You don't have to add an egg. It makes the bread a little bit softer, and so my family really enjoys it. So I'm gonna add an egg. I'm gonna crack our egg here. Make sure I get a clean crack. There we go. Throw this away. We need 1 tablespoon of lecithin. This creates softness within the bread, and so it's really important to add this. You can use up to 2 tablespoons, but I only use 1 tablespoon. So we're gonna go ahead and add that. And now for the fun part. We're gonna check out the wheat kernels that have now been milled and get the flour out. So we detach this just like this right here, and all of the flour stored in this container. I always like to do it by the sink in case I spill, which as you can see, I often do spill things. And we're gonna open the lid just like this. And this is what the flour looks like once it's been milled. Well, what the kernels look like once it's been milled. And this is the remaining flour that you get. So we're gonna go ahead and dump this in here. Just like that. Put this to the side. And now we're gonna add our yeast. And we use just under a tablespoon. Just like that. And dump that right on top. Just sprinkle it all over the top. How easy is that? I am not a baker. If I can make homemade bread, you can make homemade bread. I use the bread machine. They also sell bread machines at the Bread Becker store or on Amazon. I personally use the Breville. This is what we got right after we got married. It had been stored underneath the cabinets for about 10 years. So I was able to break it back out when I learned about Bread Beckers. And we go ahead and put this in. And 3.5 hours later, we will have fresh homemade bread. I'll show you a picture of that when we get to it. Hey, well, it's been 3.5 hours and our bread is done. Let's take it out and see what it looks like. Ooh, this looks good. It's nice and hot, so I have to wear my mittens here. Flip it upside down. It just shakes right out. It's in the sink. And here we have a huge fresh loaf of bread. This will last our family about 3 days. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you try this bread and have a blessed day.